Hi, this is Shawnee Lavender, the Conscious Moms Coach, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the benefit of moving past the automatic labels that we pretty much habitually put on our children's behavior. So those of you that have watched my videos before, you know that I come from a conscious parenting perspective, and so I'm really talking about being as mindful as we can, as conscious, as awake, as aware as we can be of what's really going on with our children, rather than simply reacting out of old programming of our own that comes from our own childhood, some of our own negative programming that happened for us early on. So that's my perspective. And so I offer the tools that I do in my videos so that you can gain some more awareness and also then have some things that you can work with to make shifts in your parenting. Because many of us, we sometimes get stuck and think, oh, I've got to make this big change. I've got to never yell at my kids. You know, if that's your thing that you do, I've got to never yell at my kids. And while yay, that would be lovely and that's a noble goal, I think that's also very pressuring for us as parents, and it doesn't really serve us. So I like to encourage us to make these micro shifts that both are really monumental in the effects that they can make. It's those ripples that ripple out, and also because it's more doable for us. And so it's these micro shifts too, maybe, but micro shifts that build up, and those result in cumulative change, and they change the energy that we have in our homes, and they change our relationship patterns with our children. So that's part of what I'm going to be talking to you today, is this micro shift that you can make when you are experiencing a behavior in your child that you dislike. So again, you might automatically think misbehaving, but it's that behavior that you would like to see them change, that you don't like, that you find challenging. So that's what we're talking about today. So before I give the specific example of that diving deeper that I'm going to invite you to do, I want to talk about, some labels can suffice. So some of you may know the acronym HALT, HALT, stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So that's a great acronym. You know, we all, again, in those moments when we're feeling frazzled, something that we could just grab on to be like, oh, halt, let's see. So are they hungry? No. Are they angry? Maybe. Are they lonely? Yeah. Are they tired? Not so much. So, that does help us, right? So it helps us take that pause and say, what might be going on here? So please use those kind of tools. So I'm not saying don't ever have a label. What I want to invite you to do, though, is do that dig deeper, do that micro shift. And the example I'm going to give you today is a jealous child. So let's say, as many of you do, let's say you have more than one child and one of them is young, maybe toddler age, maybe preschool, early school years, and then you have a relatively new sibling, or even a sibling that's been around for a couple of years. But let's say it's more that infant type child that you have. So you have an infant and you have one that's more starting school age, 5, 6, somewhere around there. So let's say your older child is behaving in a way that your mind says, they must be feeling jealous. So great notice, like, okay, so maybe they're hitting their sibling, maybe they're biting their sibling, maybe they're saying nasty things about their sibling. So whatever it is, whatever those behaviors are that make you think, I think that looks like sibling jealousy, right? Great. So here's the deeper dive. So if you think jealous, you might think to yourself, oh, okay, I need to give my older child some more time and attention. What I often see, I see this a lot in the Facebook world, where parents are on groups saying, hey, I want some support, I want some ideas. I often see this where then the parent will say, I already do special time, I already do one-on-one. So parents, again, they're like, this child is jealous and I'm already giving them time and attention. So then we feel stuck, right? We're like, I can't give more attention. I only have 24 hours in the day and I do need to sleep some of those. So that is we feel stuck then, and we're like, what's up? I can't do anymore. And also what I see here, just as a side note, is that for a lot of parents, this is a place then they get into feeling guilt and shame. And they're like, what am I doing wrong? And there must be something wrong with, myself as a parent, or the way I'm doing mothering or fathering with this child. So again, that can then make things even stickier, so on and so forth. So rather than just thinking jealous, here's what the deep dive would look like. So if you think, well, what do I mean by that? Or what kind of jealousy is this, if you will? Like, what flavor of jealousy? So here's a few examples that I wrote down for myself. So let's say that maybe what's going on for your child is they feel disappointed that the baby gets to be physically close, or they get the parent at rest. So think about those early months, right, in years. So not always, definitely, we get into our busy times, and yet for many of us, there was, holding our baby close, sitting in the rocking chair, sitting in the glider, laying in the bed with them. We definitely had, hopefully, lots of moments where that's what we were doing. We were with the baby, we were nursing, or we were feeding them with a bottle. We were simply present with our baby. So we'll call it your preschooler, just to give some definition to this. So your preschooler may personally be experiencing more of mom cooking dinner, or just having changed baby's diaper, and sort of between tasks, mom sort of on the go, and preschoolers not getting that same type of energetic presence that the baby's getting. So that jealousy, so to speak, may actually be a deep sense of disappointment that the preschooler has. Okay, so you see that nuance, right? You could still say it's jealousy, but if you notice that and you think that there's this sense of like, oh yeah, I'm not as fully present, then you may not need to spend more time, quote unquote, with your preschooler. Maybe it's a different quality of time. Maybe it's really like, okay, let's get under the covers in the bed and just tell stories to each other time. I don't know. You're the creative person. I'm creative too. You know your children, you know your family. So that gives you a different route to take with that preschooler, and like, oh, okay, here's what I can try and see if that works. So here's another deep dive. So instead of just plain jealous, maybe your preschooler feels overwhelmed that you expect them to be such a big boy or girl instead of helping them more. So again, it's not a conscious thing that you're like, you have to be a big boy or a big girl. It's simply that child may be wanting more help and sort of wishing, gee, I wish mom or dad would help me more. They put on baby socks. They never put on my socks. You may think, well, but they're a preschooler. They can do that. Sure. But their perspective may be, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed by this sense of responsibility that I have as the older child. Okay. So again, different path then to take with that child. Here's a third deep dive. Maybe your preschooler is desiring that their infant sibling would be more of a playmate. So they just may be filled with desire and longing of, gee, I want somebody to play with me, in the kid way. I mean, yes, parents were great playmates, and yet we're not kids. We don't play in the same way as children do. So that may be simple longing that your preschooler has of, oh, I really want baby sister to play with me. And it's not happening. At 7 months, it's just not going to be the same kind of playmate as, another 4-year-old. Another deep dive could be perhaps your preschooler is feeling frustrated that you, as their parent, aren't as available to help him or her out because of the baby's consistent needs. So maybe you're already aware, oh yeah, my preschooler is feeling overwhelmed by some of those responsibilities as older child. And so I've been working on attempting to help them. But maybe in your efforts to do that, baby always seems to be interrupting. Again, may not be the truth, and yet that may be your preschooler's perspective. And so that then brings up those feelings of frustration within them, like, "Ah, I was getting my stuff and you interrupted it, you brat." That I've never had that, right? I have a sibling, right? So yeah, that happens. So again, it's a different nuance, and then you can, oh, okay, hmm, what can I do to address that need and address their perspective? So another deep dive that you could make instead of just plain jealous, maybe your preschooler is sad that you don't do baby stuff anymore with her. So again, we think, oh, they don't want to be the baby. Well, maybe they do. Maybe sometimes they want you to play, here's your bottle and here, let me coochie coochie coo you, or whatever you sort of maybe tend to do more with the baby than you do with them. They may be simply feeling sadness about, oh, I'm not getting that. I want me some of that. That's that young desire and longing in them, but they may just be attached to that sadness that they feel that, oh, I'm not getting that. Okay. So again, leads you in a different direction as their parent on how to work with them to move them through that experience. And then the last one that I wanted to give you as a deep dive with, again, a shade of jealousy that you might not have thought of, is maybe your preschooler feels confused that the baby gets more help with the same needs. For example, maybe you give your infant your full attention when you're nursing or when you're bottle feeding them, or maybe in the high chair or whatever. Maybe you're fully like, oh, here comes the plane's coming in for a landing. And maybe with your preschooler, it's, here's your cheese and apples, honey, and here's your cute plate, and okay, eat and have your snack. And again, it's not a judgment on us. It's not saying you shouldn't do that or that's wrong. It's not. It's simply saying that from their perspective, it may be, oh, wait a minute, I don't understand why baby gets all your time and attention with the feeding when I just get a plate of food. What's up with that? So again, none of it is to judge us. None of it is to say, oh, you need to stop doing those things. It's to say, yes, it might be jealousy that your child is experiencing towards her sibling. And yet that may not help you. That label may not be enough definitiveness to help you know what's an appropriate next step that you could take to help relieve that upset feeling that your child has and potentially build new skills within them. So that's why I really wanted to go on into this nuancing that I believe is really helpful when we can do it. You're not going to do it all the time, and yet if you can take those moments either in the moment, to when you hear your mind say, oh, they're feeling jealous. Well, what do I mean by that? What kind of jealousy, or what flavor? What does it look like? Or after the fact, that you can pause and say, you know what, I've been thinking about the way these two are relating from the elder's perspective. And I don't think it's so much just jealousy. I think it is sadness and frustration, you know. Great. Play with some things from there and then see how that works. So that's what I wanted to share. I think it's a much more effective approach to working on behavior change with your children, because you're really seeking as best you can to get fully into their experience rather than just this broad, oh, they're jealous or they're tired or they're, whatever that first automatic label is.